My personal brand was very important to me because it was the only place that I could create leverage and value. I didn't have more knowledge than everybody else. I didn't have more experience. I had the same amount of hours. I had the same computer. I had the same telephone and the same card box. My goal was to enable talented people who wanted to achieve great things and just needed the right support and the right brand to enable them. And if I fail because it's my fault. I think the estate agency world is going to change drastically. I don't think you're going to have estate agents.
I don't think robots are going to take over the world, but I think they're going to make a massive, massive difference.
Yeah. I would buy castles across Europe. That's what I would buy.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat. I would like to introduce you to my very old dear friend. I always call you Danny Daggers, but I know you're Daniel Daggers. Yeah. DDRE. Incredible story. Visionary, I think. Somebody who's changed like a very old, stuffy estate agency model and tried to make it fresh all of the time. Very early into your social media, which is definitely inspirational from my side. Mr. Super Prime himself, Danny Daggers.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an intro.
That just rolled
I've
off
done loads of these, but that intro was fabulous. Thank you so much.
So welcome. The theme of this podcast typically is I'm meeting you at the same time as all 102 of our regular subscribers. But for you and I, we've known each other a long time.
102,000.
We have known each other a long time. We did a podcast back in the very early days of TAB when we were in Marylebone. So if anybody wants to hear your backstory, we'll link that, and we're not going to go back through the whole. Well, I started as an estate agent, and because I think
that did well. That video,
it did do well. I think more because of me than you,
of course.
But no, it was good, and I think it was good because I think we both kind of enjoy these kind of little chit chats and happy to put ourselves out there a little bit. So,
well, also share value, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Share value in stories. We're all going through, our working life. We want to share values through stories so people know that they're not alone and they understand that there is a human behind the business or in front of it, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I really, really appreciate you coming again. I know you're busy. Obviously I am too. So what I wanted to do, or what I want to talk today is more about the future. I think I'm super tuned into AI and tech, and I know you are as well. I think a lot of the stuff that you've been doing is kind of a bit more behind the scenes, I would say, where you obviously want to do what you do well. And I think that's the kind of shared value stuff as well. We both work hard every day, both get up, both kind of building stuff, as you said, when we were walking in. But the future, I think, is a bit unknown right now. So when I talk about the future, I mean everything as far as both of our industries are concerned, but also property prices, which for a long time in my career felt like it's going to be really difficult for people to afford stuff. And so, welcome. Maybe just a couple of minutes from you on how's it going, what's going on out there, current time, and then we'll look to the future.
Okay, so current time, DDRE Global is now 52 people in total, and we want to grow exponentially with the right talent. We run a platform business, which means that people run their own independent business on our platform. There are loads of different kind of businesses like that, but we have a slightly different nuance, which is that our brand is very strong at the top end of the market. So I call it like a key, and the brand is a key, and the brand enables you with that key to open expensive doors and valuable homes, etc. And we're technology backed with a lot of media distribution to create more value and a spotlight on our advisors that sit on our platform, so they can fundamentally make more money, meet more people, make more money.
So just go back to basics a little bit on how your model differs from a typical estate agency. So whether you work for an estate agent or, it's like a kind of franchise model, or, you're quite different. I guess it's more of like the American model.
Yeah, everyone says that because they speak the same language as us. But in truth, I've bounced around the world, and most of the world runs a brokerage model where the individuals that deliver the service are individuals that own their own business, and they sit on a platform that enables them to do their business. Okay? Because they are the business. This is a lifestyle business. It's all about who you are and the service that you can deliver. So the rest of the world operates this model, which is you call brokerage. Okay? In the UK, they formalized it, made it into a corporate structure, and made it into what we call a state agency, where the individuals get paid a salary, which tends to be anywhere between £22,000 to £35,000 a year, give or take wherever you are across London. And then you'll get 10% commission on whatever you bill, so any properties that you sell. And it's very linear. It's the neighborhood that you work in and whether or not you do sales or lettings, whether or not you deal with houses or apartments, okay? Super linear, bit of a factory setting. And the UK did a great job in formalizing a corporate structure to enable the people at the top of the business to be very successful, and everybody else just services that person, essentially. Our view is that when social media started to ramp up, people had more of an opportunity to advertise themselves and their service. And that means that they get closer to more customers than a corporate entity does, because a company cannot advertise every single day and be human about it. So we felt at the time when we did our when we did our first podcast that the world was going to go into brokerage, or the UK world was going to go into brokerage. And we're seeing that as the exponential change in our industry, okay, where it's all about people on platforms rather than companies.
Yeah, so I think it's always been about, you know, when I even think back to what more of an old school estate agent model looked like, it's still always been a people's business. All sales is a people's business. It's just that the launch of social media kind of helped one to build their personal brand. And I think it is probably worth spending a few minutes on personal brand. You've clearly, especially in our sector, I've kind of got this sense now that because my LinkedIn's grown so much that although, you know, I've got whatever it is, 10,000 followers, not really a big number in the grand scheme of things, but in property finance in London, it's massive, you know, so... But you lent into that super early, and you know, personally, I love the fact that it's not all super polished. I mean, you do a good job with the polished stuff when you do that, but actually, it's like everyday real stuff. How's that really changed?
What's it? Different ways
changed for you? How's it changed your path? You know, that being front and center, putting yourself on, building your personal brand.
It's a strange thing to say because people don't think Jewish boys come from local authority housing, but I grew up in local authority housing, and I didn't have many wealthy friends to support me in my journey. Okay, so I went and became an estate agent in the window after breaking my collarbone, etc., etc. And I just wanted to earn a living. And I knew very, very quickly that having people like and want to do business with me. So there's three words at DDRE that we really anchor on: is like, trust, and respect. If I got, and at the time I was too young to really understand that, but I understood that if people liked me, they're going to choose me to do business with them. So likability is very important. And you can't do that if you're just a bland human, not prepared to share emotions or feelings or life.
Wearing a name badge for someone else.
It doesn't work. So I knew very young, even though I couldn't articulate it, I knew very young that the business is about me delivering a service and helping other people in their journey. Okay, that's what I felt. And so my personal brand was very important to me because it was the only place that I could create leverage and value. I didn't have more knowledge than everybody else. I didn't have more experience. I had the same amount of hours. I had the same computer. I had the same telephone and the same card box. It was card box before computer, and the same fax machine. And the Rolodex, like all that sort of stuff. So it was more about what I could deliver in the human way of dealing with things. And that's how the personal brand thing came along. And I built business in my little firm that I worked in because people chose to do business with me. There's the guy in the window, really like him. He's a lovely guy. How can you do that at scale now? Well, you can use social media channels to do that. And I jumped on it very quickly. And when you talk about polished and more raw content, I'm pleased that you noticed that. There's a reason why we have that. The more raw content is about me in the moment, how I feel about something, what's important to me. And it's a bit no holds barred whilst I'm dressed in a nice shirt and I'm wearing a jacket and I look rich and all that sort of stuff. Yes, you've done very well today. But you know, image is important, and being respectful to my customer is very important, and my client. So I dress nicely, but my personality is what needs to shine through. So I know that the days of, because of social media and because of COVID, the days of being sat in your armor and not showing who you really are have evaporated. Now what happens is that your personal life, me wearing a baseball cap and listen to rap music and go to the Arsenal and with my son and all those sort of stuff, which is very human, is part of my personality. It is me, right? Sure. And I do a job and I deliver a service. It's now symbiotic. It's now together. So I need to show people who I really am as an individual, so they can use reasoning around why they might want to do business with Daniel. Does he get me? Does he understand me?
Yeah, is he real? Is he
real? Yeah.
Is it a show, or
is he full of pride?
Yeah.
Does he love what he does?
Yeah.
Because pride is something that I think we've missed here in the UK, particularly over the past couple of decades. We sort of step back, and it's a job, but it isn't. It's your pride in delivering great service will enable you to be more successful. So there's that, the realness of our world. The other part is content around real estate.
Yeah. To
build brand, you do that with images, video, and written word. If you want to entice the right audiences, you have to play towards that with branding. Yeah. That's why brand is so important. Now, brand is at conflict to sales.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I could have 500 apartments at £1 million to £2 million to sell, but that might impact the brand value when we want to sell 20, 30, 40 million pound homes. It's why certain companies really struggle to get to the top end. And certain companies...
You still put yourself in a particular place to satisfy a certain type of customer.
And whether or not it's aspirational for many, like, do I want to live in a 30 million pound home somewhere in Little Venice? Yeah, maybe I do.
Yeah.
Maybe I might get there one day if I'm good enough, right? But we want to create beautiful content around beautiful homes because it creates brand value for the organization. And we want to protect that. So there's certain ways in how you create content. It's not just filming things. And that's why you have like this multifaceted engine of content.
It's brand versus personal brand.
Well,
as in they need to work together, as in they can't work in conflict, because otherwise it just looks like it's done for a specific reason. But especially with property, I think any property, but you know, luxurious real estate, you know, the angle and the shot and how long it stays there and when it pans round makes the difference of whether that property looks small or clean or light or bright.
So we know, as an example, we know that if you take a picture of a property at an angle, it doesn't perform anywhere near as well as if it's sat center in the image, okay? And if it's symmetrical, it will outperform. If it's a house that is symmetrical and shot straight, well, it will outperform. And it's at nighttime, it will outperform a daytime shot. We know that if you put Daniel Daggers in front of this shot, it will do this. So there's a lot of science behind the content, right? Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of science behind the content, and that's why you have to be an expert at it. And that's about building brand. The personal brand piece and corporate brand is think about our people being in boats. We're the boat, okay? And the tide is rising because we deal at the luxury end of the market. What happens is the boat takes the person in the boat up with the tide. Okay? It doesn't, even when people might get tired or lethargic about content, the tide and the boat elevates the individual.
Okay, I like that.
Okay? And that's how we need to build our brand as an organization. And it's all about our people. It's all about our clients. It's all about our customers. And it's about how we display what we do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Are you just saying, I say interesting when I don't like something.
No, it's actually interesting. I mean, it's interesting to me. And like sometimes, you know, you and I, again, we speak relatively often, but I'm sort of less aware that we're saying something that may be interesting to everybody, and it's more like, you know, it is interesting. It's interesting and it's topical to me because this brand, the TAB brand, been as in the logo has been as it is for a long time. The business has evolved dramatically. We've gone from having private investors doing sort of more quirky things where we can charge a higher return to having £500 million of institutional capital where we want to be much cheaper, more appealing to a broader range of people. So we don't have any desire to change the logo. I don't think it really matters much, but subtly all the things that you're talking about, and what are we saying, what angles are we shooting from, what are people in our office being asked to do with their own personal content, how does that tie in, the do's and don'ts, because I think that people buy from people, and I have to kind of exactly 100%. The same sense as you, is that if you put me in a room with people, I get on with lots of people, I'm pretty competent, I'm kind of happy to roll with it. Sometimes I don't, you know, same way as I'm scrolling sometimes and I think, don't really think I'd get on well with that person. And I think that's, you got to kind of lean into it. You're not going to be all things to all people. No. Some people will just not. What I'm trying to do is hyper focus on those that we will get on well with, and we do think that we can build a business together with.
But think about in your business, how many employees did you have?
50.
So you don't need to be everything to everyone.
Sure.
there are going to be some people that are indifferent about me and my personal brand. Okay, that don't really know me as a human, but just are judging me from the screen. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that our business can't be full of personal brands that speak to loads of different people in different ways. Like I'm going to love a certain property because of how I feel that my family are going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But Remy, who's this young dynamic woman in our business, is going to look at that property and sell it in a totally different way to her client base. And that's the beauty of having people and personal brands is that they can speak differently to different people.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. But they are completely different. And I think, for you, you really are the brand as well. DDRE's kind of it's for you. It's harder to detach yourself.
How do you want me to?
Because it's built in your image.
Well, you say that. Okay.
It's everything from why you've got here in the first place, everything you've learned from your international travels.
Yeah.
And then you really want to bring people in who are going to be additive to the brand. Yes, they're on the boat and they can use the boat to their advantage. And there's, I guess, some do's and don'ts in reality. Somebody can do something stupid and damage the big boat.
So you'll be surprised. Okay, so first and foremost, let me just tackle the part about DDRE is very much you. It's only that to you.
Fair enough.
It's not that to Sarah Simpson, who's just come across a beautiful property on social media or on Rightmove or somewhere else via another personal brand. Yeah. I mean, if I said to you, what does CBRE stand for? Do you know?
No.
Okay, if I said to you, right, I mean, like that's just an example.
Yeah.
It means something to you because I'm the personal brand that you recognize as part of that business. DDRE Global could stand for double down real estate. It could stand for data driven real estate.
Yeah.
It could stand for so many different things. But for you, I'm that person.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is when we were building our business, it was very conscious. I was very conscious. We were very conscious of business that you're going to give a huge amount of responsibility to people. You're going to say, here's our baby, here's our brand that we've spent millions upon millions of pounds, loads of energy, life energy in creating this brand. So much pride, all of that. And you're going to hand it to other people. And you hope that they treat your baby well.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, if you give people more responsibility, they are much more cautious, considered, thoughtful with it.
Mostly.
Yes. I mean, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, fair enough.
To expect perfection from people, I think is you're going to get hurt many times. But in my eyes, I want to give more responsibility to more people, and just by the way the business has performed, people are very respectful.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you want to attract quality people who understand the responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, I hear you what you're saying. I didn't mean it almost. I think it's a good thing that DDRE. It's your DNA, is what I mean. Whether or not people put Danny Daggers and DDRE together, or whether they even ever meet you. All being well, you say most of our clients in a different country, they don't meet you. Yeah. But in the same way that my initials aren't on Tab, I think people would say, oh, Tab is Duncan, Duncan is Tab.
Correct.
And I've sold a business. So prior to that, my previous business was my baby. Before I had any kids, I felt as passionately about it, and I wore it on my chest and my cap and everything. And you learn, I think, if you build a good business, a sign of a good business is something that can continue without you. And I definitely
100%.
think you have achieved that in the sense that, DDRE is not going to disappear tomorrow if you disappear tomorrow. It's hopefully an international brand, and as you said, 90% of your customers probably never get a chance to sit down and talk to you.
I would have failed.
Yeah.
If
it was just Daniel Daggers Real Estate, that was it.
I would have failed.
Yeah.
My goal was to enable talented people who wanted to achieve great things and just needed the right support and the right brand to enable them.
Yeah.
That was the goal. And if I fail because it's my fault.
Let's talk about tech. Or
Tell me.
As far as the future.
You love your tech.
I love my tech. I just think it's... Yeah, I always say this, but I remember vividly my mum's kind of attitude is like, well, don't use Google, that's cheating, because we've got Encyclopedia on the top shelf. And then, there's this attitude with AI now where there's people who say, oh, I don't use AI because I don't trust it and it makes mistakes. And
and my dad doesn't when he gives me advice.
Yeah, exactly. So I do love it. And my mission is to use as much of it as I can so I can learn the direction of travel, so I can use it to my advantage. I'm not saying that's it, the world's changed, stop, do something else. I still think you need to be able to sit in a room, shake someone's hand, have a conversation, build some trust, some likability, all the things you said.
Yeah.
But can I use these things to my advantage? So when I do a presentation now to my office, which I do once a month, my presentation's on a different planet to how it used to be with my PowerPoint slides that I did the night before. Because
what are you using now?
Claude, almost exclusively using Claude, but constantly updating Grok and Google, because I know that this is not me set for life. I'm going to pivot to, but I've built my own kids apps over the weekend, like little drag racing apps. I'm going off in a million different directions.
Because it's like a new toy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a new toy. Before we go into tech, and tell me if you want to stick on tech, do you want to talk about what we think the future may look like?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do that.
So do you want to go first?
The future, I think it's very, very, very difficult to imagine what the world's going to look like in 5 years. So I think when we used to say, what's the future going to look like? You'd say, like, what's it going to look like when my kids grow up? My eldest child is 12. My youngest is 1. To imagine what Matilda, who's 1, is going to be like in 10 years' time, how she's going to get to school, whether she's going to go to school, how she's going to learn, where she's going to live, how she's going to communicate. For a second, like, I need to almost take a step back and be like, that's too far in the distance to think, which is, so I feel like the future's got shorter in some respects. I'm super excited for 2026 because those are the things I feel, can I get my hands on something now which will materially move the needle? Like, can I get through the next 5 years in 6 months or 1 year? And it is tech, really, because I think the other bits that aren't tech around the future is just the same things that we've talked about before. Like, can you hold yourself in a meeting? Do you have the skills to be able to present, to be able to talk, to build relationships? Those things will be important, possibly more important. I've heard this kind of quirky thing about Gary Vee saying one thing that will be a job in the future that hasn't been a job before is people might pay you to go for a walk with them because there might not be as much human interaction. And it's like, and it's like, hang on a minute, that might actually be a thing. People might pay for human interaction. So, I mean, I'll flip it back to you. I think let's go 5 to 10 years because I think that's enough time.
Can I just just say the following thing, okay? Before we dig into what the future looks like. Yeah, I think it's a very important time in our lives where people that want to work and have a profession really pick, you're not just picking the job, you're actually picking the founder, okay? And the reasoning behind that, and I'm not talking about for myself, I'm talking about for you, I'm talking about for any business that is founder-led. It's very important that when anyone who's young is watching this, that you really pick a business where you like the founder and where the founder has a very strong vision. And the reason for it and how I describe it to our people in our business is that for many, many years, company owners had a yellow bus at the top of a mountain. And every day the workers would walk to where the bus was and get on the bus. And the bus driver was the owner of the business. And the bus driver would take them all to work on their journey. And it would be at the top of the mountain. So it's going across the top of the mountain. And it's very dangerous. The past 20, 30 years has been dangerous. You had to navigate the internet coming and all these different things have taken place, COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And they're navigating the top end, right, of the mountain. And it's been a bit treacherous, but they've been doing it for many years and it hasn't changed dramatically. And so for the past 20 years, the drivers could do it blind. They could drive their staff in their yellow bus blind to their destination every single day. And now the world's changed. Okay. There's lightning, there's thunder, there's boulders now onto the roads. You have to take a different destination. And you have to ask yourself whether or not the bus driver is the right person to navigate you through the storm. Okay? It's very important that young people, whenever they pick a role, they look at whether or not there is a vision to move the business forward.
I think that is super important. I really do. I think I'd say something that I think is more important than that is picking something that you want to do that interests you. And to even to the detriment of picking one founder over another, I would say now is the time for people to think, what do I want to do with my life? So if I could think back to when I was a kid and was like, what do you want to be? Apart from being a footballer, I wasn't good enough, wasn't as good as you. Apart from being a footballer, it's like, what really interests me? Actually, say it differently. What do I like doing now?
What felt passionate about?
What do I feel passionate about? So yes, not going to go into it now, but changing the way real estate's held in your phone, all that sort of thing, I think is the future. And that does actually get me out of bed. But I like skiing. I like cars. I like the Formula One. Like my passions, if I was going back to the beginning now, I'd probably focus more on doing something that I really love rather than something I'm really good at, or that I've got a founder who I can go on the bus journey with them. Because now I feel like all of a sudden the clouds lifted and there's actually a different mountain over there and there, and one's coming out the ground that never existed before. So it's not like, do I trust somebody just to take me on this journey? But it's like, hang on, this bus, why don't we go over there? Why don't we go over there? Now you can create something out of nothing. You can meet people at the far ends of the earth. You can collaborate in real time. And I think the more, and when I talk to my kids about this stuff, it's like the more you love it, the easier it is for you to do it intensely enough that you might make a success.
Agreed. I think that the world has become a very big place with lots of opportunity and lots of spinning plates and lots of buses on mountains. And people find it really difficult to figure out which bus to get on.
Yeah.
And which mountain to play on and which bus to get on. So I'm not suggesting you pick a business just because of the founder.
Sure.
I'm saying you pick an industry that you love, that you might be really good at, because I don't care what anyone says. When you're good at something, you enjoy it more.
For sure.
So when you're good at it,
Yeah.
you find the right founder and the right bus to get on. Okay? It's very important that the owner of that business has a strong vision.
Yeah.
Because in a world where
I agree.
no one knows what's going on,
Yeah.
when someone does have an idea of what's going on, you can use your passion and your energy to take the world in that direction.
Yeah.
So vision's very important.
Yeah, agreed. And look, I presented a kind of counter argument, but I feel very strongly that I know about the boulders and the rocks that you were just describing, thunder and lightning, new weather conditions nobody ever expected before. And I think the challenge for a founder, and I'm sure you will agree, is not having the path laid out. It's what happens if. And, what do I do when... Now, I've kind of got this attitude to life now where it's like, expect the unexpected. If a fire broke out over there and people, I'd be like, oh yeah, right, something else crazy is going on. Shall we finish the podcast? Or it's like you're just used to bombs going off absolutely everywhere. So I think the skill, that I would agree with you. I think it's important. And also just to expect the unexpected. It's like... gaining as much personal knowledge as you possibly can in the acceptance of the fact that nothing lasts forever and things will change.
And building your network.
Yeah. So let's talk about the future.
Okay.
What do you...
Guide me where you want to...
I think let's talk about real estate, because I genuinely
buying and
interests me.
selling real estate
property.
or real estate values or...
I'd say... do you think there is a big step change? We obviously grew up in you've got to get on the ladder. This was a thing that kind of constantly was said to me and said to people around me, how are you going to get on the ladder? How are you going to get on the ladder? And then that's about the next step and the next step.
Yeah.
Now I feel like nobody's really that bothered about getting on the ladder. They're more bothered about, where do I want to be? Who am I going to be there with? How easy is it to get in? How easy is it to get out? There's a kind of more of talk around, do I even need a noose around my neck? Do I need a mortgage? Do I need a house? So maybe speak to some of that. Or is it just your house is your home is your castle, everybody wants to have... Do you still think it's, I guess, the same percentage of people want to buy their dream house, live there forever? Or...
There's lots of segmentation, okay? It's how do different generations look at real estate? Some generations are really unemotional about it, want to lease everything and not own anything, and be hyper dynamic with the way they want to live their lives. I want to be in Thailand next week, and the week after that I'm going to be in Cambodia, and the week after that I'm going to be in New York. Fine, I think that's okay. However, if you do decide to have children, this hypermobility lifestyle is very difficult, and that's going to anchor you. You might not realize it now, but that will anchor you. And the question is whether or not you want to have your own home or you want to rent someone else's. I think in a world where the UK is suffering when it comes to values at the moment, it's very easy to say I don't want to own a home because I can't see any upside in it.
Yeah. Because that was a big law of doing it. Like if I buy this house in 20 years'
Right.
time, I'll have £1 million. Or,
Exactly. And like, I think there's an opportunity in today's market where entry, let me start again. I think the government want to shrink the wealth gap. Okay.
This government or just general?
This government, society to a certain extent. Okay. You've had a lot of parasitic, if that's even a word, value retention. So what I mean by that is people have owned a lot of things and they haven't created much value. They've just sucked value out. Mm-hmm. And we've become a bit too accustomed to it in the UK, which has meant that we don't evolutionize our industries and create more value. Yeah. And entrepreneurship is on its knees because of that reason and that way of doing business. Hierarchical value system, etc.
But that doesn't really translate to real estate values.
Well,
because the
does.
Business around real estate, yes. But is this house in... Okay, let's focus in on maybe something that's closer to, your kind of... Yeah, go on.
I was going to get to the point.
Yeah.
The government want to shrink the wealth gap, okay? So they're taxing people at the top end of the market and they're creating more liquidity at the bottom end of the market. What does that mean? It means entry-level values are probably going to go up, okay? If they're reducing stamp duty and creating more money supply, you suspect that values are going to go up at that level of the market. So is it probably a good time to buy now if it's in a good commuter zone, et cetera, transport facilities, schools, whatever the sort of the reasons why people would live in a certain location, if they're really impactful, then now's probably a good time to start buying real estate at the bottom end of the market.
With a what-year horizon?
Well, I just think it's going to continue.
Like a lifetime horizon, as in...
probably a lifetime horizon. Like entry-level values are still entry-level values. And it's harder to... They're not building as much real estate as they were previously. So are we going to see much more supply? No, I don't think we're going to see much more supply. That is indicative. I think buying real estate at entry level now is probably a good time to do that. If you want to make money and have a home, your own home. If I was 24, I was very dynamic, I was creative and work was me and I could live anywhere, maybe I wouldn't buy anything and anchor me to London, and that's fine.
So there's a couple of things there, pause.
Go on.
Firstly, I actually genuinely struggle with it's a good time to buy. I've said that for a long time, and obviously for our business, we want people to own property, but it's good time to buy. I struggle with it because I don't know. Let's take this entry level, which I think is probably hundreds of thousands more than what entry level used to be. But let's say it's like 300 grand.
Where in London?
What I would consider
Anywhere.
Entry level.
Okay.
Like what can you buy? I mean, we're in Mill Hill in NW7. You probably can't buy anything for 300 grand.
No.
And we're in the suburbs where you haven't been to Mill Hill for more than a decade. You're about to tell me when you arrived. We are outside of London. We are not in central London of any description. You'd argue we're not in London at all.
Someone in Birmingham would say that you're in central London.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd also say, and my friend Lee always does, the second biggest city in the country. And I don't know how much you can buy in Birmingham for 300 grand, but let's pick 300 grand. I mean, you've got the amount of money that you need to buy a property. Mm-hmm. You've got tax on tax on tax, like stamp duty. Whether the government is trying to help in any way, shape or form, I'm not sure. You can probably still rent just as nice a property that's somebody else's problem in the same road for less, where they're in charge of the washing machine and the curtains and the roof and the plumbing and everything else. Now, I think it's been presented to me time and time again over the last 12 months, and I'm starting to think, why would you buy it for 300 grand? Because in order for me to get my money back in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, I'm going to have to get more than 300 grand to get back to where I started with all the taxes and the legal fees and everything. Like it's starting to be less obvious to me that in 10 years time, that flat's going to be, or house is going to be worth enough more that I couldn't have just taken my 50, 70 grand and done something different with it and had just as good a lifestyle. Tenants have got more protection than they've ever had. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to be a landlord. Everybody I know who's a landlord, I've felt this for years, but now people are like, I don't want to own this property anymore.
Yeah. But then now you're going to get institutional investors
I think it's the only way.
So once you've got institutional investors, they're going to sweep up and buy everything.
Yeah.
What do you think that's going to do for the people that want to buy real estate? Do you think it's going to push values up?
I think the other thing I was going to say when I said stop there is the supply part. So Labour came in saying we're going to build X amount of million homes, which obviously they're not or they can't.
Yeah.
But if you go up in a drone from this location where we are now, you will see within 5 seconds there is no shortage of land. There is zero shortage of land. You could build 1,000 homes around this area and you wouldn't even see them from most high streets. You could build high streets, infrastructure, schools, universities, doctors' surgeries, shopping centres. You could build the whole lot. So I think there will have to be more housing.
Okay, but the more, let's say you create more housing.
Yeah.
And you've got groups of people in the UK that are born and raised here and they're not buying the real estate. And you've got big organisations.
Someone has to own it, I hear.
Someone's going to own it, okay? They're going to sweep up all the real estate. Once they sweep up all the real estate, these people are never going to get on the ladder.
Yeah.
They'll never have a buy-side opportunity.
I'm not sure they even want to. That's really the nub of kind of the debate here.
But then what happens is that you're just going to be a sheep to someone else's slaughter, right?
Well, no, because
they're just going to increase rents.
I think
you're going to be paying so much money towards
rent. But the alternative is
no
we're posing that property might go up more, and that the knock-on effects have to borrow more, and wherever interest rates are, my cost of living in that same property. What has happened in the last 10 years is the first 10 years where I can look back in my career. The first prolonged period of time where I think I can now buy that property for less than I could have bought it for then.
Yes.
And that to me is like a light bulb moment. Because I said when I grew up looking at property goes up. My dad bought a house for 20 grand, sold it for 40, bought his next house for 50, sold it for 100. That's just fucking done. Like, you are not going to buy a house for 300 grand and it'd be worth 600 in the future. So
I agree with you, but you're going to have a massive. We've got the biggest shift in wealth that's ever come in modern day history. Okay, which is baby boomers and their money going down to the next gens. Okay, that's going to be a very, very interesting occurrence, because if all of a sudden they get landed £1 million because dad once bought a property or mum once bought a property, and now there's £1 million post any form of taxation that they're going to get into their skyrocket.
Think they're going to buy a house with it?
What are they going to do with it? Do you trust yourself with £1 million if you're 27 years old? And
more so now than you and I would, for sure. Because I can go on to Claude and I can brainstorm
you got to stop.
100 things I could do with my money.
You have to stop. You have to stop, okay? Not everybody. What I've found over the years is that not everybody is you. You think in a certain way. You have what we call a high level of agency. You can do things because you are creative and you have the action. And you can melt the two together and go and do things. Okay, you can go and build an app for your kids. I mean, if you ask the 100 people, 200 people, 1,000 people that will watch this, whatever it may be, how many people have built an application for their kids, it's going to be in the single digits. Not everyone lives, thinks, does the same as you or I.
Yeah.
We're totally different people.
So do you think, this is maybe the discussion about the future that I thought we were going to have. So,
in 2014, I've got to stop you.
Yeah.
In 2014, okay, I remember 2012, 13, 14. Bearing in mind, 14 was the peak of the market at the top end.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember bankers calling me up saying, I've got a client's interested in buying real estate. We've told him he has to buy as much residential real estate as possible because it is like gold.
Yeah.
It only goes up.
Yeah.
Okay. We look back now over a decade, and there's been no asset inflation since 2014, except for a peak in 2021, where there was a forced movement to buy real estate. Okay. But in 2012, it was very obvious that you wanted to buy UK real estate. It was a no-brainer. And everything changes. And the one thing that I don't think people really get is that the world works like a pendulum. Okay? It works like a pendulum, and the pendulum swings towards opportunity. But its driver is greed. All right? Because one thing that a lot of people got in common is greed. Like, they want more.
Yeah.
Like, I love a chocolate cake. Give me more of it, right? Or I like being successful. I want to make more money. Greed is something that motivates the world. And the pendulum has to swing, because if it only goes in one direction all the time, there's no value creation. So things change. And we have to recognize that things are going to change. There will be something that will make change. And I would be very conscious about that with making like lifetime commitments and being really committed to like a perspective or a view about things.
So do you think there's this notion of universal credit?
Yes, coming.
So then these things about, the next generation of passing down £1 million to their kids, that's going to come and go pretty quickly. Like in a decade, my kids will be in their teens or 20s. And then, then really, this is where I really do genuinely find it hard to consider what the world might look like. Visualize. And I do have some vision. I kind of pride myself on having some vision. Right
Clearly,
now, I'm
built
like,
loads of businesses.
Is this conversation going to matter in the same way? Because where you live and how much your house is and how much your mortgage is, I think these things are all going to change.
Okay, so let's do this, right?
Yeah.
You're successful. You've got some financial freedom. Okay. Let's assume your life you live today, we put you in a box and we zoom you in. We fast forward you and your family in 15 years' time. So you're the same age, same profile, same everything, okay? Same as the kids. In 15 years' time, okay? And I said to you, right, tomorrow you're moving to Zurich.
Yeah.
Can you just move to Zurich tomorrow like that? In 15 years' time? Kids are the same age. Can you do that? Can you move to Jamaica tomorrow?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well,
I mean, I could move to Zurich tomorrow or Jamaica tomorrow if I wanted to.
You could, right?
Yeah.
And the family would go with you.
Yes.
And it would be very easy.
Yes.
It would it?
Yeah.
Schooling, education.
Well, it depends what you call easy, but yeah.
Okay. For you, it might be easy. For a lot of people, they're not just going to get up.
Yeah.
People find it hard enough to move out of their city, let alone move across the world.
Not like they did. Not like.
No,
it's a lot easier now than it was 10 years ago.
But there are things that anchor you.
Much easier in another 10 years.
There are things that anchor you, though.
We talked about this notion of me just picking up my phone and thinking, what else can I do with £1 million? And instead of having 3 ideas, 1 being buy a house, 2 being give it to my financial advisor, or 3 put it in the bank and don't touch it, give it to the next generation.
Or 4 build your own business.
Then, and I hear you. The one thing that baffles me is how few people are
trying to build their own business
and building and learning and upskilling themselves. But in 5 years' time, even if it's only 20% of the audience watching instead of 1 or 2%, I feel like it will have a dramatic effect. And I just see real estate, buying my own home where my kids can grow up and go to school, just going down and down and down and down and down on the list of priorities. Does that mean that it won't double in 5, 10, 20, 30 years? Probably not. It's still, Mayfair is still Mayfair. Marylebone High Street is still Marylebone High Street. People want to live in London. It's got history. It's got the old streets. It's got a vibe. It's got, restaurants that have been there forever. You still need to have somewhere to go. You need to have your hair cut. You need to get your fresh fruit and vegetables. So I'm not saying property's dead, get out while you can. I'm not saying that at all. I actually think now is a good time to buy, but maybe that's why the institutions are buying, because it's harder and harder to obtain. It's harder and harder to have the rules and regulations. I think that's a massive thing.
Yep.
Loads of old landlords that I see now where the next generation is coming in, they're saying sell everything because the way that grandpa used to look after this portfolio is gone. You can't do that anymore. You don't knock on the door and ask for the rent. You don't get a gas safety guy around once. You are legally and personally responsible, financially responsible for the tenant that lives there. And that just is different. So,
okay. So what does the future look like then?
I think the freedom that we're talking about, and I'm kind of flippant. Look, I do think I could just pick up and go and live somewhere else, and everyone would come with me, and we'd probably be okay or better if we were going there for a reason. But I think more people will continue to think that way. I don't think this is like the younger generation wanting to be more free. I just think it is easier now to move around and to. I think it becomes a bit more airy-fairy. You talked about it before about getting a job, and I think that's the bit for me where I think things change, where people say, actually, I like to
traditional
paint. I like to create stuff. I like the sun, or I don't like the sun, and you'll be able to. you'll be able to learn at your own pace. You'll have less concerns about paying your bills at the end of every month because robots are running around and doing a lot of that stuff for you. I think some of that stuff, adoption will take a long time, but 10 years is forever. I can't look beyond 10 years. So yeah, I mean, I do. The reason I wanted to ask you that today, when I thought this morning that we're catching up, talk about the future, is because I genuinely struggle with it. So my attitude is, well, just get your head down, carry on doing what you're doing, live for the moment. I think is really important. Enjoying what you do, surrounding yourself with people that you like, surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, so that you can improve. I think all those sort of being present things are important. But because I have vision, I like to think that what I'm doing right now isn't a complete waste of time, that it will have some meaning or some legacy, if you like. Interesting. Should we make some predictions? Then we can come back and sit in this room.
What's the vision of TAB?
The vision of TAB, I guess, is to be able to speak to this conversation. So it's not just, can I get a mortgage from the bank or can I get a mortgage from TAB, and who do I prefer? It's like exactly what you said about the founder, I think is super important, just not for the people who come to work for TAB, but for our customers as well. Do they want to interact with a business that is in this for the future? So ESG sort of came and went. It became super popular and all of a sudden no one gives a fuck about ESG anymore. I really like the idea of sustainability. I like the idea of not having to build relationships over and over again because some new startup comes out and everybody jumps off the ship and goes with that startup. It's like, come with us because we're coming on the journey with you. So I think about that as sustainability. I'm preaching to our staff about AI, but I'm also saying to them, we're not going to replace you with AI, but you need to get on board because your role is going to change. I can't tell you.
How's it going to change?
We're going to be managing and overseeing infinitely more than we can do on our own. So, this simple idea of an agent going out and doing stuff for you, which I suspect a lot of people have some early idea of what that is. But
you're talking about a digital agent.
Yeah, a digital agent where I can literally come back after this podcast and check on how my tasks are doing, things that I would have had to do on my own after or before this podcast but now they're being done while I'm here.
Okay.
I can have 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 of them. And what my skill needs to be moving forward is, am I keeping my agents in check? That I think is a real thing right now, 2026.
Yep.
So then my job as a founder and as the CEO of the business is, can I manage people and can I manage agents or can I manage tech? Like this is my real life right now. So then my staff are going to be saying, right now I can handle 20 cases and I do them like this. And I want them to be able to handle 200 cases with their feet up and to get better outcomes. So faster for the customer, faster for you, more intellectual, done better, but still overseen by somebody who has our core values.
Okay, get that.
So I think that's how their jobs will change.
Okay.
That's enough. There's a fair amount to unpack there. Anything else you want to share?
I think the estate agency world is going to change drastically.
Tell us more.
I don't think you're going to have estate agents. I think you're going to have an individual that's going to deliver a full life cycle of service throughout the rest of your life.
Okay. A robot or an individual?
No, it'll be an individual. I think that we're about to lean into a phase of humanity. I think we've all been incredibly focused on the digital aspect. So there was the early adopters, people like you and I, and then there was the majority. And the majority now is starting to realize that social channels are important, and they're starting to understand that AI can be a great leveler for people that may feel that they're behind. And everyone now can all of a sudden write incredible emails, in a very articulate way. And content can be produced and you can meet customers and clients online. And I think what's about to happen is we're going to get back to the humanity of our world. We're going to get back to realizing that true value is meeting people in person, hugging people, shaking hands, whisper community. I'm going to tell you something, but I'm not going to put it in writing, and I'm going to whisper it in your ear, and you're going to remember it, and it's going to be a piece of information that you can leverage. because I like you and I trust you and I respect you and I think you're kind and considerate and you're going to support me during the course of my life. And I think that we're all going back into this phase. It's the reason why people feel so lonely, is that everyone spent their time on their mobile phones and they miss the warmth of another being and energy. So I think physical space and communities and in-person events are going to rocket, and networks are going to create value. Our advisors at DDRE are going to have the best tech stack to support them in delivering a service.
Yes, that's
yeah. And that is going to be incredibly important.
Yeah.
And the best tech stack with the best media exposure and best brand is going to enable these people to build the best businesses whilst agents support them.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
actually,
just in different language.
Which is, I'm on Claude, you're still on ChatGPT. But I think what I've heard there. I still think there's this balance between, those that are good at it, like we said right at the beginning of this, where you're likable, you're personable, you enjoy it, you genuinely have an interest. We will be able to do more of it because we will have more efficient, as you said, better tech stack around us, and I think that's the kind of bridge for me, is that I don't think robots are going to take over the world, but I think they're going to make a massive, massive difference.
Yes.
When my dad was my age, this did not exist. It wasn't even thought of. He always says, if you'd have told me I had a piece of glass in my pocket and I could video call you from a different country with no wires attached, I would have said, you've lost your mind. That is sci-fi stuff. That's not going to happen. Now we're talking about what happens after we put our phones down. So the short space of time where that's gone from, I'm going on holiday and I'll speak to you in a week when I get back, to I've landed, I've taken off, here's what we had for breakfast, here's what we had for lunch. Now that's almost like finished, and it's what's next that interests me. And yeah, obviously, we all thrive with this human interaction. And I like what you said of some things that I guess I hadn't thought about, like events and those things. I think that is super interesting. Those are the kind of things that I want to tune into. It's like, what's the future going to be? Oh, I can't possibly tell you. It's too crazy. I was like, no, hang on a minute. Are people still going to want to go and see live music?
Yes.
I couldn't say for definite that I'm 100% on board. I like the notion of it. But if I can bring Oasis here and they actually say, hey, Duncan, we see you, and we're actually here, and we're actually playing to you, but I don't have to go to the fucking O2 on the train, I'm interested in that as well. And I can't be sure that you're absolutely right, because can you get more of that personal interaction, things that I enjoy? Can I sit in the Formula One car and go around Monaco without having to go to Monaco? That kind of sounds appealing as well.
When you get into a Formula One car, okay, and you drive around Monaco at pace, it's not just the feeling of the drive. It's the wind in your hair. It's the smell of burning tires. It's all these things that if you've felt it once, you're going to crave to feel it again. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the really interesting part of value that we're going to miss and want to crave to do more of. Hence why experience is so important. I'll give you a tip of what I think real estate, what I would do if I was very wealthy. Yeah. What I would do? Yeah. I would buy castles across Europe. Yeah. That's what I would buy. I'd buy castles. Why? People are going to want to experience life in different ways, have destinations of choice, for moments, holidays, like for a week or an event or a birthday, whatever it may be, wedding. And they're going to want to go to places that are very special, that you cannot replicate easily. And the thing about castles is that they're totally undervalued. Yeah, sure. Right.
I was actually just thinking about, like, I've seen some recently.
Right,
like in Scotland, you can buy.
So set up a fund. Let's go and buy some castles, because the reasons why they're so reasonable in value is because the upkeep is horrendous. Yeah. But if we've got robotics to support us, okay, and we can have an army of robots that will meticulously refurbish and maintain castles in the right way, so it's benchmarked correctly against its listing, etc. Yeah. All of a sudden, the entry price becomes incredibly valuable. Right?
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, sort of. And then you think about building a brand around all these castles, and then you can bounce around the world or around Europe in these
Those
amazing
robots
places.
can come and pick everyone up, and
As well as.
because I think
It's more the maintenance of the castle.
It's the maintenance, but it's also how difficult it is to get logistics.
I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future.
Thank you, sir. Good to catch up.
Thank you.
Let's do it
Appreciate
again
you having
soon.
me, mate.
Pleasure.